Question 18.11. Questioner: did this entity, then, even though he intellectually understood the law of one, misuse it and have to go through this healing process? Answer: I am Ra. This entity became, may we use the vibration sound complex, overstimulated with the true nature of things. This overstimulation resulted in behavior that was beyond the conscious control of the entity. The entity thus, in many attempts to go through the process of balancing, as we have described the various centers beginning with the red ray and moving upwards, became somewhat overly impressed or caught up in this process and became alienated from other selves. This entity was positive. However, its journey was difficult due to the inability to use, synthesize, and harmonize the understandings of the desires of the self so that it might have shared, in full compassion, with other selves. This entity thus became very unhealthy, as you may call it in a spiritual complex manner, and it is necessary for those with this type of distortion towards inner pain to be nurtured in the inner planes until such an entity is capable of viewing the experiences again with the lack of distortion towards pain. Question 18.12. Questioner: you stated yesterday that forgiveness is the eradicator of karma. I am assuming that balanced forgiveness for the full eradication of karma would require forgiveness not only of other selves but also the forgiveness of self. Am I correct? Answer: I am Ra. You are correct. We will briefly expand upon this understanding in order to clarify. Forgiveness of other self is forgiveness of self. An understanding of this insists upon full forgiveness upon the conscious level of self and other self, for they are one. A full forgiveness is thus impossible without the inclusion of self. Question 18.13. Questioner: thank you, a most important point. You mentioned that there were a number of confederations. Do all serve the infinite creator in basically the same way, or do some specialize in some particular types of service? Answer: I am Ra. All serve the one creator. There is nothing else to serve, for the creator is all that there is. It is impossible not to serve the creator. There are simply various distortions of this service. As in the confederation which works with your peoples, each confederation is a group of specialized individual social memory complexes, each doing that which it expresses to bring into manifestation. Question 18.14. Questioner: can you tell me how Yahweh communicated to Earth's people? Answer: I am Ra. This is a somewhat complex question. The first communication was what you would call genetic. The second communication was the walking among your peoples to produce further genetic changes in consciousness. The third was a series of dialogues with chosen channels. Question 18.15. Questioner: can you tell me what these genetic changes were and how they were brought about? Answer: I am Ra. Some of these genetic changes were in a form similar to what you call the cloning process. Thus, entities incarnated in the image of the Yahweh entities. The second was a contact of the nature you know as sexual, changing the mind, body, spirit complex through the natural means of the patterns of reproduction devised by the intelligent energy of your physical complex. Question 18.16. Questioner: can you tell me specifically what they did in this case? Answer: I am Ra. We have answered this question. Please restate for further information. Question 18.17. Questioner: can you tell me the difference between the sexual programming prior to Yahweh's intervention and after intervention? Answer: I am Ra. This is a question which we can only answer by stating that intervention by genetic means is the same no matter what the source of this change. Question 18.18. Questioner: can you tell me Yahweh's purpose in making the genetic sexual changes? Answer: I am Ra. The purpose 75,000 years ago, as you measure time, was of one purpose only, that to express in the mind-body complex those characteristics which would lead to further and more speedy development of the spiritual complex. Question 18.19. Questioner: how did these characteristics go about leading to the more spiritual development? Answer: I am Ra. The characteristics which were encouraged included sensitivity of all the physical senses to sharpen the experiences, and the strengthening of the mind complex in order to promote the ability to analyze these experiences. Question 18.20. Questioner, when did Yahweh act to perform the genetic changes? Answer, I am Ra. The Yahweh group worked with those of the planet you call Mars 75,000 years ago in what you would call the cloning process. They are differences, but they lie in the future of your time-space continuum, and we cannot break the free will law of confusion. The 2600, approximately, time was the second time, we correct ourselves, 3600, approximately, the time of attempts by those of the Orion group during this cultural complex. This was a series of encounters in which the ones called Danak were impregnated with the new genetic coding by your physical complex means so that the organisms would be larger and stronger. Question 18.21. Questioner, why did they want larger and stronger organisms? Answer, I am Ra. The ones of Yahweh were attempting to create an understanding of the law of one by creating mind-body complexes capable of grasping the law of one. The experiment was a decided failure from the view of the desired distortions due to the fact that rather than assimilating the law of one, it was a great temptation to consider the so-called social complex or subcomplex elite or different and better than other selves, this one of the techniques of service to self. Question 18.22. Questioner, then the Orion group produced this larger body complex to create an elite so that the law of one could be applied in what we call the negative sense. Answer, I am Ra. This is incorrect. The entities of Yahweh were responsible for this procedure in isolated cases as experiments in combating the Orion group. However, the Orion group were able to use this distortion of mind-body complex to inculcate the thoughts of the elite rather than concentrations upon the learning teaching of oneness. Question 18.23. Questioner, was Yahweh then of the Confederation? Answer, I am Ra. Yahweh was of the Confederation but was mistaken in its attempts to aid. Question 18.24. Questioner, then Yahweh's communications did not help or create what Yahweh wished for them to create. Is this correct? Answer, I am Ra. The results of this interaction were quite mixed. Where the entities were of a vibrational some characteristic which embraced oneness, the manipulations of Yahweh were very useful. Wherein the entities of free will had chosen a less positively oriented configuration of some total vibratory complex, those of the Orion group were able for the first time to make serious inroads upon the consciousness of the planetary complex. Question 18.25. Questioner, can you tell me specifically what allowed the most serious of these inroads to be made by the Orion group? Answer, I am Ra. This will be the final full question. Specifically those who are strong, intelligent, etc., have a temptation to feel different from those who are less intelligent and less strong. This is a distorted perception of oneness with other selves. It allowed the Orion group to form the concept of the Holy War, as you may call it. This is a seriously distorted perception. There were many of these wars of a destructive nature. Question 18.26. Questioner, thank you very much. As you probably know, I will be working for the next 3 days, so we will possibly have another session tonight if you think it is possible. The next session after that would not be until 4 days from now. Do you believe another session tonight is possible? Answer, I am Ra. This instrument is somewhat weak. This is a distortion caused by lack of vital energy. Thus, nurturing the instrument in physical balancing will allow another session. Do you understand? Question 18.27. Questioner, not completely. What specifically shall we do for physical balancing? Answer, I am Ra. 1. Take care with the foodstuffs. 2. Manipulate the physical complex to alleviate the distortion toward pain. 3. Encourage a certain amount of what you would call your exercise. The final injunction, to take special care with the alignments this second session so that the entity may gain as much aid as possible from the various symbols. We suggest you check these symbols most carefully. This entity is slightly misplaced from the proper configuration. Not important at this time. More important when a second session is to be scheduled. I am Ra. I leave you in the love and the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one Creator. Adonai.